Did you know that Google personalizes many searches by city and Also Asked is the only tool to access live People Also Asked data at city level? Try for free at alsoasked.com.
Tired of SEO guesswork? Quadra's AI agent goes deeper to uncover high-impact optimizations and completes hours of SEO in minutes. Get started now.
I was going to say that SEO with Fat Joe is as peaceful as this, but then the birds are all having fights.
Thank you. I fully appreciate that it's been a long day, and it seems you may be getting a bit conferenced out at this point. So I'll try and keep it engaging and interesting for everyone, because I fully appreciate that wine and beer is very much calling everybody at this point. Nice to meet you all. Like Chris said, my name is Becky. I'm super passionate about all things paid media, particularly measurement. Also, I love blazers and a great rosé. So if you want to talk to me about any of those things afterwards, then of course do come and say hello. As part of my passion about paid media, I am a big advocate for search and social as channels being much, much closer together. I feel like over time, the two channels have very much been considered as being completely separate, having very different goals, objectives, outcomes. And I know a lot of search and social teams that can sometimes look a bit like this and very competitive, when actually it should look a little bit more like this, a little bit more friendly. I feel like they should be very much sat at the same table, learning from each other, strategies complementing each other. And a phenomenon that's really piqued my interest over the last couple of years is search behavior, and how many more people are moving their search behavior actually away from traditional methods. I will probably reference Google quite a lot, but obviously there are others out there, and shifting a little bit more to social. And it wasn't just stats and data that kind of led me to be interested in this. It was actually my own personal behavior that really made me think about it. And I started noticing a real shift, finding myself sort of going to TikTok, Pinterest, Instagram in conjunction with Google at first, but now there are actually a few areas where I'm kind of actually doing it in replacement of Google. Bars, restaurants, hotels, I find TikTok a really great place. I need to know the ambience of a place a bit better than what Google can give me. I want to know what the vibe is like, what the food looks like, really honest reviews, so I find TikTok great for that. Recipe content is probably where I find Google the most frustrating. I don't want to read through reams and reams of content. I just want the ingredients. I want to be shown what it's meant to look like so that I know that I'm kind of following the right path. Style inspiration has obviously long been a top category on social. My Pinterest activity definitely peaks around sort of nail hair appointments, wardrobe clear outs and stuff like that. And home decor has obviously long thrived on Pinterest. I just recently repainted my house, and I found that Pinterest was the best place for me to find the right paint colors to kind of see what they actually look like in different rooms and different lighting, compared to just going on websites and seeing AI generated images. So I feel a bit exposed right now. I feel like you've had a real insight into my life and my behaviors over the last few months. But I know I'm not alone in this. So yeah, 57% of Gen Z, nearly 50% of millennials are turning to social media engines when they want to find new information, or they want to learn something new. And over half of Gen Z are actually going specifically to social media to search for a brand, which is huge. And I find it really interesting, because I feel like millennials really coined the term Google it. But I feel like actually Google's kind of struggling a little bit to maintain its relevancy with this age group, but particularly Gen Z. Of course, they have grown up knowing online search, and social media has very much been at the forefront of their digital lives. So naturally they are leading this shift, as we would expect. And Instagram and TikTok are their go-to search platforms over Google. And very interesting as well to see Snapchat in the mix. Probably might be a bit of surprise to everybody, but really not to be ignored when it comes to their local search capabilities, thanks to the Snap Map. So there's a lot of opportunity still there. It's obviously not quite as high up, as favourable as those guys, but not one to be ignored. I obviously think we'll be a bit naive to think that there's still not a place for Google in certain areas. There are definitely certain categories. I think the main point I want to get across is that there's certain categories that are really winning and have a lot of opportunity in sort of this realm. So gifting, fashion, food and drink, fitness, and beauty are kind of the key topics that are really winning the sort of search war. Whereas obviously there's other topics, news updates, sports updates, finance, a load of other sort of areas where obviously Google will still naturally be the go-to. And I think that maybe aligns a little bit with the age demographic that we're sort of seeing that shift. But yeah, the key categories that are winning, 40% of Gen Z consumers are finding their gift inspiration on TikTok. Although unfortunately not a Gen Z myself, but I definitely can vouch for this. I used TikTok a lot for Christmas gifting last year, made my first TikTok shop purchase on a gift as well. In the beauty space, it was natural skincare that was the most searched beauty trend on social media in 2024. Fitness is the 4th top category on TikTok. So this is actually just behind entertainment, pranks and dance, which is obviously the whole foundation of the platform. So to see fitness as sort of the next most popular category, that's a huge opportunity for any sort of advertisers in that world. 40% of Gen Z users are actively looking for food-related content on TikTok, Instagram or YouTube, and this is largely driven by people wanting more visual recipe content. And then 12% of Instagram users are regularly searching for fashion content on the platform, which I know 12% may sound like a small portion, but when you look at the whole platform worldwide and the user base, that is a large chunk of people that are using the platform for their style inspiration, which again is a huge opportunity. I remember thinking about why this shift might be happening. It's quite simple, really. When we're looking for information these days, we want it quick, we want it honest, and we want it to be engaging, and that's where social media really wins. The content is visual, it's bite-sized, it's quick to find things, and that's really helpful for anyone that's looking for, things to be quick. 29% of users are searching on social purely out of convenience. You can get to things way quicker, perhaps, than on Google. It's honest. All the videos are being uploaded by real people, compared to on Google or search engines where the results are very faceless. So on social, it very much comes across that the results are more human, more honest, more trustworthy. We want that real opinion. And that's really important to a lot of people. 65% of Gen Z and millennials feel that social media is the best place to learn about something new because of the varying perspectives that you get on the platform. And I think that's also really important. And obviously the most important part about social is it's engaging. And we know that video is so huge on social. You all don't need to be told that, but it's really important to audiences. 83% of people prefer to learn about a new topic by watching a video rather than reading about it. So video content is so important. But another point is how personalized our social feeds are and how helpful that is when it comes to search. So if I'm searching and we're all searching for similar topics, we're going to have very different results, and we're going to be served very different things. And that's just sort of the power of obviously social algorithms. To the point where, and I love this stat and I'm really glad I've remembered it at the top of my mind, that nearly 60% of millennials feel that their social algorithms know their tastes and interests better than their own parents do. So that is really, really powerful in terms of how well social can match people up with products. And when we amplify people searching for specific things, that only gets stronger. And in terms of the key difference between the two is how visual, obviously, the two channels are. We process visual information way quicker than text, and we can also retain it for a lot longer, which is obviously super helpful. I was looking for running shorts again, another real insight into my life right now. I've got the Great Birmingham Run half marathon coming up next month. If anyone has any running shorts recommendations, do let me know afterwards. But one thing I found really interesting was that on Google, I've only got a handful of options here in one sort of view, and I have to click through each one to see what they look like. There may be a couple of reviews on there to see, how people actually got on with them. Whereas I go to Instagram and I go to TikTok and I've got an abundance of results. I can see exactly what they look like on people sort of as they're running, how they feel about them. And that's really valuable to me at this point. And there's also been sort of a long-standing feeling that people are only on social media in a very passive capacity, but I really don't think that's the case anymore. Some data that I got hold of from TikTok is that searches including the term best are up 101% year on year. The term how is up 89% and the term where up 132%. So people want to know where they can find something, how they can do something, and they want the best options of those things. And that's why social media is completely reshaping what we know about the purchase journey, about the marketing funnel. When we look at sort of the top of the funnel in our sort of product discovery phase, social media has now overtaken search engines in terms of where people typically are finding information about brands and products and discovering them, which is great to see. Around 50% of people are using social media to find discover new brands, products and services, and that's inclusive of ads, recommendations and organic brand updates. Into the consideration phase, obviously search is still the top, but social media is really kind of pushing up quite high, and therefore I feel like it's really imperative that brands are visible across both search and social to be part of that consideration phase. And I really feel like social media is taking up a lot of that space alongside Google when people are trying to decide between, different brands, different products. And then finally, sort of when we actually look at the bottom of the funnel and also our youngest digital audience, which we don't mention a lot, but they really should be starting to be thought about, which is our Gen Alphas. And there's an 11% increase year on year in the amount of Gen Alphas stating that they use social media purely to find products to buy. So this is over that they use it for entertainment, for music, for style inspiration, for the news. They're on the platforms to find things to buy. So that can't really be ignored as, they start becoming our new generation with disposable income. So I really feel like brands should be jumping on this behavior shift and really take advantage of it. First things first, I really feel like you should do your research in terms of who you want to be addressing. I know this sounds really, really basic, but it's really a case of who you want to be showing up in front of. What you want to be showing up for, so what kind of search terms on social media specifically do you perhaps want to be showing up for? You can't show up for everything, but it's good to hone in on those things, particularly on social, that you do want to be there for. And where, because most social platforms, if not all of them, have some kind of search functionality. I wouldn't want you to spread around trying to do them all. So I would really focus on your sort of key platforms that you feel are going to give you the best outcome. And what I think is the real recipe for success is informative content and relative keywords really going to boost your search visibility. If I give you one account to go and look at, I'm not affiliated with them in any way, but House Labs Beauty, Lady Gaga's beauty brand, in case anyone didn't know, are doing a really fantastic job. I was just doing a bit of research while I was putting these slides together, and I was looking for a foundation for all skin types. Their post comes up first. It's a nice image. I can see they've got obviously like good shade range, for example. You can tell that's what they're alluding to in the image. But the content is jam-packed full of informative content and relevant keywords that people are probably going to be searching for. It's long wear, transfer proof, sweat proof, suitable for all skin types, medium buildable coverage. They've got a ton of information there that they're probably going to start appearing for. And as soon as you go through to their Instagram page, they're just ticking all the right boxes. They're posting consistently. Their content's really informative. They've got a lot of tutorial style content, which we love. They're using influencers to also showcase what their products look like, how to use them. And the most important thing as well is that everything's shoppable. So I can literally go from searching foundation for all skin types. I can click on their post that's first. I can go through to their Instagram page, see how different people are using the products, and then I can go and buy it. So they're just making the process, if anything, a little bit too easy. But I think they're a great example. So I would definitely go away and take a look at them if you can. And another area is also to make sure you're on trends. Obviously, a lot of search behavior is driven by what trends are generating a lot of engagement. One account that does this quite annoyingly well is Sheer Luxe. I'm sure maybe a lot of you already know them, but again, if not, I would really recommend that you go and check them out. They kind of were the first people to start doing like in-office content. But they jump on like most trends that are relevant to them, and they're usually like one of the first accounts to it. a lot of the content is like relatable, humorous. A lot of it is sort of quick tips, how-to guides, a lot of behind the scenes. They really leverage a lot of cultural moments like red carpet events, for example. They're straight on it. And obviously a lot of people on TikTok are going to be sort of searching for a lot of the content that they're providing information around. So another good example of who's doing that really well. What I would say though is that I think timing is really everything here. There's a real fine line between cultural relevance and cringy. I think the amount of brands that jumped on the cutesy demure trend way too late was quite embarrassing. And if anything, it just kind of puts you off those brands rather than admiring them. The ones who get to them first, I tend to admire the most, whereas when they come along a little bit too late, you just want to scroll past it and just move on. So I would also really, really bear that in mind. And I wouldn't be at a paid media event if I didn't obviously mention that your organic efforts and your paid media really need to go together here. A handy chart if you want to be showing up in search sort of placements and leveraging this behaviour. Just an overview of where you have the opportunity from a paid media perspective on each platform. Genuinely, I really think the go-to is TikTok here. I know a lot of advertisers are still a bit scared of TikTok, but I just really don't think you have the option to be anymore, to be honest. Because not only do they have search placement, but their keyword targeting offering is rolling out. Still just only available, I think, right now in the US. But it is coming, and they are really on board with rolling that out. Whereas Instagram, I have had no whispers of them looking into keyword targeting, which is quite disappointing. And also Pinterest, our OG social search platform, which I know is probably one of the lesser used, but obviously you've for a long time had search placement and keyword targeting as well. And X, I know it's not everyone's favourite, but I'm just putting them there. That is still an option. And of course your search placements across all of them, including Instagram and Snapchat. But one key thing I also just want to flag is don't simply rely on your traditional search strategy and just copy and paste it over to paid social. I don't think that's really going to work. I think what I mentioned at the beginning in terms of the two channel strategies complementing each other is really what we want to get at here, because although, yes, on social media, I was obviously referencing that people aren't just there in a passive manner anymore. They are showing more intent, but I can't deny that, yes, on Google, you have more specific needs. You are looking for something a little bit more specific, whereas on social, even though that is growing, people are probably more in the mindset of wanting to be inspired. You're probably sort of considering a few different things. So yes, there are different needs, and while sort of social search is still growing, you are going to need to have different strategies. So one thing I would say is really focus if you are looking at keyword strategies, to focus them on trends that are rising, trends and posts that you are feeling are growing a lot of engagement and gaining a lot of conversation, a lot of social buzz, and seasonal moments, like I mentioned, sort of looking at those key categories that are winning on social search. Gifting is so huge, and people are finding a lot of gift inspiration on social. So a combination of these things is really going to help you thrive. And one case study that we have done at Dentsu with a UK high street retailer, we started off trialing TikTok search ads with keywords, applying our paid search strategy. But we then shifted it to actually leveraging these elements where it's more trend-led, engagement-led, seasonal moment-led. And we actually found there was a 532% increase in the ROAS by applying versus applying a traditional sort of paid search strategy. But instead, the strategies were complementing each other. We were taking inspiration from what we were doing on search, but applying some of these more sort of social search important elements, trends and engagement. And that's an incredible result that we did see. So good luck to everyone if you are looking at starting to dip your toe in the water of some of these options and opportunities. And a massive thank you to you all for still listening at this time, and hope you have a great evening. Thank you so much.